The beast unleashed. The galaxy was quiet that night. Stars shimmered in the black sky, but something dark moved between them. It was not a ship, not a comet, not even a storm. It was a monster, huge, alive, and built only to destroy. They called. It's Zalgor. Zalgor was the final creation of the Varnak Dominion. The Varnak were a cruel alien empire, and they had ruled the stars for 900 years. They believed no one could stop them. But when rebellion grew in distant systems, the Varnak released their secret weapon. Zalgor was not a machine, not a soldier. It was a living beast made of alien flesh and stolen tech. It had no master, no fear, and no weakness. They dropped it on the planet Torvik Prime. Within 2 hours, the entire planet was silent. All cities burned, all defenses crushed, and no life remained. It did not stop, it did not sleep, it did not speak. Zalgor was the perfect weapon. The Varnak were pleased. One by one, they sent it to other rebellious planets. Each time it won. Until something strange happened. One day, Zalgor changed. Its path, it did not return to its command ship. It flew into deep space toward a small blue planet that had never attacked the Varnak. That planet was Earth. The Varnak were confused. Why Earth? One asked, it's weak, unimportant. Another said, they tried to call it back, to control it again. But it did not listen. Zalgor had never disobeyed before. Some said it had developed a mind of its own. Others said it was broken. But one Varnak general said something no one wanted to hear. It's thinking, back on Earth, people watched the skies. NASA picked up the strange object first. It was big, larger than any ship they had seen before. Military satellites followed. It, but could not scan through its shell. They didn't know what it was, only that it was coming fast. Governments panicked. Presidents, generals, scientists all in meetings. Should we attack it? Someone asked. With what? Another replied. Nothing they had could stop something like this. Then a man stood up in a meeting room in Geneva. He was calm, middle-aged, with gray in his beard and sharp eyes. My name is Elias Gray. He said, I want to talk to it. Everyone laughed. It's a beast, they told him. It doesn't talk. It kills. But Elias said something strange. I've seen it before in a dream, when I was a child. People thought he was mad, but something in his voice made them pause. He wasn't afraid. He spoke like someone who had already been through death and come back stronger. After hours of argument, the world leaders agreed. They had no weapons that would work. They had no better plan. They gave Elias a small shuttle and a communication link, and they watched as he flew alone into space. As Elias left Earth's orbit, he saw the beast. It floated silently in the void, like a mountain with eyes. It was covered in dark metal. Alive with energy, its body pulsed with strange colors, like a heart that breathed fire. And yet, it did not attack. It just watched. Elias opened his channel. This is Elias Gray, he said, his voice calm. I know you can hear me. For the first time in its life, Zalgor hesitated. It had destroyed fleets, eaten fire, crushed stars, but now a simple human stood before it, unarmed, small, fragile, and it did not attack. Inside the beast's mind, something moved, a sound, a memory, a feeling it had never known, curiosity. Elias looked into the beast's eye-one glowing red core. Buried deep in its chest, you are not a slave, Elias said. You are not their weapon. Zalgor did not reply. It could not speak. But something inside it changed. It did not kill. It listened, back on Earth. People held their breath. This was not war. This was something else. The most powerful creature in the galaxy had met a human. And it didn't roar, didn't strike, didn't destroy. It paused. And in that silence, the galaxy shifted. Asterisk arrival at Earth. Zalgor moved slowly now. Its huge body passed Saturn's rings, then glided past Jupiter without a sound. No fire, no rage, no destruction, just silence. A monster that had burned. Worlds now floated like a ghost toward Earth. On the planet below, fear grew. Every screen, every news channel, every voice spoke of the same thing. "The beast is coming," they whispered. Children cried, soldiers prayed, scientists gave up, but one man stayed calm. Elias Gray. He had gone out alone in a shuttle and returned safely. No one believed it. He came back with no wounds, no scars, no burn marks, but his eyes they had. Changed, cold before. Now they burned with something fierce and strange. Not fear, not anger, but understanding. "What did you say to it?" A world leader asked him. Elias didn't answer. He only said one thing, "Let it land." "Are you mad?" A general shouted, "That thing killed entire civilizations." But Elias stood firm. "If we attack it, we die," he said. "If we let it speak, we might live." The debate ended when satellites captured Zal, or entering Earth's orbit. Still no weapons, no shields raised, no sign of war. The beast hovered like a shadow. Just above the clouds, it didn't send a message. It didn't make a sound. It simply waited. Then something strange happened. Zalgor opened its hull, not to fire, but to release a small pod. The pod landed in the Nevada desert. It was black, round, smooth like glass, but pulsing like it breathed. No one moved. Armies circled the site, tanks pointed, drones hovered, but they waited for Elias. He walked alone to the pod. No armor, no guards. Just a plain gray coat and old boots. He stepped close, touched the surface, and the pod opened. Inside was nothing but a glowing cube. It rose into the air and floated toward Elias. Then it spoke not in words, but in thoughts. Only he could hear it, and what it said made him freeze. "I was not made to think," the voice said. "I was made to destroy. But now I see something I do not understand." Elias closed his eyes. He felt its confusion, its pain, its hunger not for blood, but for purpose. It had seen death, but not life. It had crushed hearts, but never felt one beating. "You're not alone anymore," Elias whispered, and the cube faded. As if satisfied, the world still watched. But they saw nothing but a man standing by a rock. They didn't know something had changed forever. The next day, the beast moved again, but not to attack. It slowly descended from orbit, heading toward the Arctic Circle. There it landed, resting its body on a frozen wasteland far from cities. No smoke, no tremble, just quiet. Scientists were sent in, but the beast didn't move. Jets flew over, but it didn't react. Then Elias arrived again, by helicopter. This time, the ice beneath the beast glowed like it welcomed him. He walked under it, through a massive door that opened just for him. Inside, it was warm, alive, breathing. The beast had built something new inside, a room filled with lights, images, memories, some human, some alien, some unknown. Elias stepped forward, and a shape appeared, a projection of the beast. Not its body, but its mind. It looked like a storm with eyes, a galaxy inside fire. "Why do you not fear me?" the voice asked again. Elias replied, "Because I've seen worse." "What is worse than me?" it asked. Elias looked up, eyes cold. "Emptiness," he said. "You had no reason to kill, but now you have a reason not to." There was silence. Then something shifted in the air, almost like peace. Back outside, the military grew nervous. Missile codes were armed. Generals screamed through radios. Is it talking? Is it planning war? But no one had answers. Only Elias knew. The beast had begun to feel, not fear, not hate, but wonder, and the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy was no longer angry. It was curious. The beast, once unleashed to destroy all, had now stopped. Because of a human who did not run, did not fight, but listened, and deep in the Arctic snow, Earth's greatest threat had become something else. A guardian, a student, a mirror, but the galaxy was watching, and not everyone wanted peace. First Contact Elias stood alone in the heart of the beast. The chamber around him pulsed like it was alive. Walls shimmered with colors no human had names for. He was inside Zalgor, not just the body, but its mind. He had walked through the open gate without force. The beast had let him in. Now it showed him things. Images floated in the air, galaxies burning, ships exploding, planets falling, but not all were alien worlds. Some looked like Earth, only older, forgotten, lost in time. Elias stared at one image. A ruined city with human faces. One woman looked just like someone from his past, his mother. He stepped closer, eyes wide. "How do you have this?" He whispered. The beast's voice echoed through the room, not from speakers, but from the air itself. "Your world was not the first," it said. Elias felt a cold chill crawl up his spine. "You've been to Earth before," he said slowly. The beast answered, "Part of me has." Suddenly, a pulse shook the chamber. Lights blinked, shadows moved across the walls. Then a shape formed in front of him, a tall, glowing figure with no face, no mouth, no eyes. It was not real, not physical, but a mental projection. This was Zalgor's true voice. "I was built by the Varnic," it said. "But before that, my core was taken from somewhere else." Elias narrowed his eyes. "From Earth?" "Yes," the beast replied. "They took something old, something hidden deep beneath your oceans." Elias didn't understand. What was it? He asked. The beast paused, then said, "Memory." In that moment, Elias felt something enter his mind. It was not pain, not even thought. It was a wave of feeling, rage, sorrow, fear, confusion. He dropped to his knees, gasping for breath. The images rushed into his brain, like fire giants made of light, screaming stars, a human child, standing before a dying sun. Then it stopped, and everything was quiet again. The beast's voice returned, softer now. "You carry the same spark," it said. "That's why I didn't kill you. You remind me of something I forgot." Elias slowly stood, still shaking. "You're remembering who you were," he said. The beast didn't answer, but the air around them grew warmer, gentler. Lights dimmed like the beast was tired. For the first time, Elias saw it not as a weapon, but as a prisoner. "You don't want to kill anymore," Elias said. The beast replied, "I don't know what I want." Back on Earth, chaos stirred. News feeds exploded with theories. Has it infected Elias? Is he controlling the beast? Is this the calm before attack? Nations panicked, weapons were moved, navies placed on alert, but none of them understood what was really happening. A war machine was learning to be alive. Hours passed, and Elias sat inside the chamber. He spoke to the beast, not like a soldier to a monster, but like a man to a lost child. He told it stories about music, about food, about laughter, about pain. He talked about loss, love, and what it meant to be human. And the beast listened. Sometimes it would flash with red light when hearing of war. Other times it would dim with blue when hearing about peace. Elias noticed a pattern. The more he shared, the more the beast changed. Then the beast asked something strange. "What is death?" It said. Elias was silent and replied, "It's the end, but also a reason to live." The beast paused. "Do I have a reason to live?" It asked. Elias stood, walked to the core, placed his hand on it. "That's for you to find," he said suddenly. Alarms went off across the beast's body. Red lights flashed. Deep sounds echoed through the floor. The chamber shook, and Elias felt the shift. The beast had sensed something danger. Through the walls, a new image formed. Ships, massive and dark, entering Earth's orbit. Not human ships, Varnic war cruisers. They had come for their weapon, and they had brought fire. Zalgor spoke. voice deeper than ever before. They want to erase me. Elias clenched his fists. Then it's time you decide what you are. Outside, Earth saw them Varnak battleships falling from the sky. People screamed, leaders panicked, the countdown to war began again. But this time, Earth was not alone, inside the Arctic ice. The beast stirred, its body glowed, its mind awakened, and for the first time in its life, it was not moving because of orders, it was moving because of a choice. Asteris, the memory of fire, the sky above Earth, split open like paper. Varnak warships rained down, sharp and black, glowing with red fire. They did not send warnings, no messages, no peace offers. They came to erase their mistake. Inside the ice-covered chamber, Zalgor rose from its frozen shell. Its skin glowed like molten steel, its mind burning with something new. Not anger, not confusion. Something deeper, something lost and now found. A memory. Elias stood beside the core, eyes wide. What's happening? He asked. The beast didn't answer in words. Instead, a wall opened beside them, revealing an image burned into its circuits. A world in flames, but not alien, not distant Earth. Elias staggered back. He saw a city of stone and water, towers, crumbling, oceans boiling. Humans screamed as something large passed overhead, a shadow with wings, made of light and sorrow. I've seen this, Elias whispered. These are not my memories, Zalgor said, but they live inside me. The projection shifted again. He saw humans standing on high cliffs, their hands raised to the stars. But they were not praying. They were calling something, and something answered. Who are they? Elias asked. The beast replied slowly, the first ones, the forgotten ones. They built something, Elias guessed. They built me, Zalgor answered. A surge of energy shook the room. Outside, Earth's defense systems powered up. Jets screamed across the sky. Satellites aimed their beams. Submarines readied their nukes. But none of it would matter not against the Varnak. They want you back, Elias said. No, Zalgor replied. They want me dead. The memory returned again, this time clearer. Zalgor saw himself not as a beast, but as a child. He had been held in a chamber, surrounded by the Varnak, wires in his spine, chemicals in his veins. He remembered the pain, the endless silence after every test, the voice that told him, you are not alive. You are a weapon. But then a different voice came. It was not Varnak, not cruel, not cold. It was soft, warm, human. It whispered, you are meant for more. That voice had been buried deep, hidden beneath layers of code and pain. But Elias had unlocked it. By speaking, by listening, by not running. That was the fire memory. Not of death, but of hope outside. Explosions lit the sky. One of Earth's satellites was gone. A second turned to dust. Varnak destroyers circled the planet like vultures, preparing to strike. But Zalgor didn't rise in rage. He rose in silence. And that silence was terrifying. The ice cracked around him. The ground trembled. A tower rose from his back. His wings unfolded, not like metal, but like living storm, and he flew. Straight into the night sky. Elias followed in his own craft, watching from the command seat. What will you do? Elias asked over the link. The beast replied, what I choose. The first Varnak ship locked on, fired a beam of red plasma. Zalgor spun through space. Dodging with grace, he fired nothing back. Instead, he sent out a wave of sound. Not a weapon, but a voice. I remember. It said across all channels, I am not yours. The Varnak panicked. Their ships shifted formation. Disable it, the admiral screamed. But nothing worked. Zalgor had rewritten himself. He was no longer under their control. He was rewriting his own code. In real time, Elias watched from orbit, his screen filled with strange symbols. This isn't alien, he muttered. These are human patterns. And then it made sense. The reason Zalgor came to Earth, the reason he didn't kill Elias, the reason he remembered the oceans, the ruins, the cliffs, part of him was human. Not flesh, not bone but thought. The Varnic had stolen something ancient from Earth, long before written time, and used it to create their perfect monster. But you can't build a monster out of hope and expect it to stay evil. Now the memory of fire, burned not for destruction, but for rebirth. Zalgor charged at the nearest ship, not to kill, but to disrupt. He pulsed energy from within, frying their circuits, shutting down their guns. He spared them, even when he didn't have to. "What are you doing?" Elias asked. Zalgor replied, "Showing them I am not what they made." In the darkness of space, the beast once feared across the galaxy lit up like a second sun. He faced the fleet alone, but not as a weapon, as something stronger, a being, with memory, with reason, with mercy. And as the Varnic warships started to fall back, unsure of what they now faced, Elias smiled. The galaxy would soon learn that the most powerful fire wasn't the kind that destroyed. It was the kind that remembered. The betrayal of the Varnak High Council watched from their golden tower. Dozens of red eyes stared at the hologram in silence. In it, their most dangerous creation, Zalgor, was glowing like a star above Earth. But instead of destroying, it was defending. "This is treason," hissed the High Chancellor. "This is evolution," whispered one of the scientists. They had built Zalgor to conquer, to crush, to kill. But now it spoke of peace, of memory, of choice, that terrified them more than any weapon ever had. Thousands of years the Varnak ruled through fear. They believed only obedience kept empires strong. Now their own beast had become a symbol of rebellion. And worst of all, it listened to a human back on Earth. Elias stood inside his command ship. Screens flickered with warnings, red lights flashing. But Elias was calm. Zalgor hovered beside the human ship like a silent protector. Elias spoke. Into the calm. "The Varnic don't just want their weapon back," he said. "They want to erase what it's becoming." Suddenly, a bright flash tore through the stars. A second Varnic fleet arrived, twice as large, full of dreadnoughts, black like burned bones, and leading them was something new, the Judgment Carrier. It was not just a ship, it was a flying fortress, the size of a moon, built to erase entire solar systems. And its target was clear, Earth inside the Judgment Carrier. The Varnak Council prepared a secret weapon, not a missile, not a beam, but a virus. One that could travel through space and code, designed to shut down Zalgor's mind. "Release it," the Chancellor ordered. The virus launched, invisible, silent, deadly. It raced across the stars like a ghost, slipping into Zalgor's systems inside the beast. Elias watched in horror as lights dimmed, movement slowed. Zalgor's wings folded in, his body shaking. "What's happening?" Elias shouted. "I feel." "Cold," the beast said. "They're inside me, back in the council tower." The Varnak celebrated too soon. They thought the beast would fall, and Earth would burn, but they didn't know what Zalgor had become. He was no longer just circuits and flesh, he was memory. And memory fights back. Deep within himself, Zalgor searched for the voice that once whispered to him long ago, "You were meant for more." He found it, buried under layers of Varnak programming. It was soft, almost broken, but still alive, and with it came the fire again. Not to kill, but to survive. "I choose," Zalgor whispered. With a pulse of energy, he burned the virus out of his own system. Lines of alien code vanished in seconds. And when his eyes opened, again, they glowed brighter than before. The Varnic panicked. How did it resist? One screamed, "It's rewriting itself faster than we can stop it." Another cried. The Judgment Carrier charged its main weapon, a cannon that could split a continent. Elias saw the charge building. he knew Earth's shields couldn't take. A hit like that, we need to stop them, Elias said, but Zalgor didn't move. Instead, he turned his eyes to Elias. I can destroy them, he said, but if I do, I become what they made me. Elias stepped closer, his voice steady. Then don't destroy them, he said. Show them what they fear most. Zalgor understood. He flew toward the judgment carrier, not to attack, but to enter. He passed. Through their shields, through their walls, the Varnic soldiers screamed, fired everything, but nothing touched him. He walked through the halls like a ghost. And finally, he reached the core, where the High Chancellor waited. The Chancellor aimed a pulse rifle and said, You are a weapon. You belong to us. But Zalgor looked him in the eye and replied, I am more. He placed one clawed hand on the data core and did something unthinkable. He uploaded his memories, all the pain, the fire, the dreams, the voices, the moments with Elias, everything he had learned, everything he had felt. He gave it to them, not as a threat, but as a mirror. The Varnic screamed, fell to the ground. Clawing at their heads, they saw what he had seen, felt what he had felt, and for the first time in their long, cruel lives, they wept Zalgor, left them there, not dead, but changed. The beast returned to orbit, tired but whole. He had won not through war, but through memory. Back on Earth, the skies cleared, the Varnic fleet stood still, then turned around, left, silent, broken, afraid. Elias watched as the stars grew quiet again. You didn't destroy them, he said. Zalgor looked down and said, No, I showed them what they tried to bury. Asterisk war in the void. The stars had gone quiet, but the silence was not peace, it was waiting. Far beyond Earth's orbit, past the last defense lines, a final enemy moved in the dark. Not ships, not armies, something older, something hidden even. From the Varnak, Zalgor felt it first, not with eyes, not with sensors, but with instinct. A cold pulse echoed through the void. It came from the edge of the galaxy. This is not over, he told Elias. Elias stood in the control bay, watching. The stars blink out one by one, like someone was turning off the galaxy. What's coming? He asked. The beast's voice grew low, like thunder behind a storm. The origin. Before the Varnak ever ruled, before humans built fire, the origin existed. It created weapons, tools, life, and then it vanished. The Varnak had found its remains, stolen its designs. That was how they made Zalgor. Now the origin was waking up, not as a god, not as a mind, but as a force one that cleansed its mistakes. It had seen Zalgor's rebellion, his change, and it had decided to erase him, erase Earth, erase the memory of failure from the edge. Of the void, a shape emerged, not a ship, not even alive in the normal sense. It looked like a moon made of shadow, wrapped in rings of lightning, a massive, ancient structure with no sound, no crew, no warmth, just hunger. It's coming here, Elias whispered. Zalgor replied, to destroy what I've become. Earth's leaders scrambled, trying to understand what was happening. Satellites failed to scan it. AI systems glitched just by looking at it. We can't stop that, a general said. We don't even understand it. But Zalgor did. It was his parent, his creator, his end, and he would face it alone. I have to go, he told Elias. Elias stepped forward. Then I'm going. With you, Zalgor hesitated. This might not be something you survive, he warned. Elias smiled softly. I didn't survive Earth just to hide from the stars. The beast opened its core again, and Elias stepped inside. Together, they launched into the black, leaving Earth behind. Below them, people watched in silence as their unlikely guardian disappeared into the unknown. They traveled for hours then. Days, time bent around them. Stars bled into colors they didn't have names for. And then they reached the edge, The origin waited there, unmoving, watching without eyes. Then it spoke not in words, but in thought, across all minds. Return to the code, it said. You are not real, only created. But Zalgor did. Not bow. He stood tall, wings spread wide, energy burning from his chest. I have seen life. I have felt memory, he said. I will not be deleted. The origin responded with silence, then with fire. Beams of pure light crashed down like stars dying. Reality bent, time twisted, systems froze, but Zalgor held strong. His shield powered by something no code could predict human will. Inside, Elias worked quickly. He wasn't a soldier, but he was a thinker. He hacked into Zalgor's system. Searching the ancient codes, he found something hidden, an old lock. One that even the Varnak hadn't seen. It's a shutdown code, he said. If we upload it into the Origin's core, we can end this. But I have to reach it, Zalgor said, and he charged forward, through fire, through broken light, through waves of darkness. The beast that once knew only death now fought for life. They reached the core. Elias uploaded the code, but it wasn't enough. The Origin started collapsing, but it pulled them in with it. You need to go, Zalgor said. Your species still needs you. Elias shook his head. Not without you. But Zalgor had made a decision. He opened his body, through Elias, out into the void, then sealed himself inside the collapsing Origin. I was made to destroy, he said, but I chose to protect, with one final pulse of energy. Zalgor exploded, taking the Origin with him, from Earth. People saw a second sun rise and vanish in the sky. Then nothing. No signal. No trace. Just quiet. Elias drifted in space, floating, until Earth's rescue shuttle found him. They brought him home, but he never forgot what he saw. And he never stopped telling the world one thing. The beast chose us. The new code Elias stood on a quiet hill overlooking the Earth. It had been weeks since the explosion in the stars. The skies had gone still again. But not because the danger was gone. It was because something greater had happened. A war machine had chosen not to destroy, but to change. The world mourned Zalgor. At first, many had feared him. Others wanted to kill him. But when he vanished to save Earth, people realized the truth. He wasn't just a beast. He was the first of something new. News channels played his final moments. The flash in space. The voice Elias recorded. I was made to destroy, it said, but I chose to protect. Children painted pictures of him with wings of flame. Poets called him the Star Guardian. Old enemies of Earth sent messages of peace, not out of fear, but respect. Even the Varnak Dominion remained silent. Their warships grounded. Their empire had been shaken not by weapons, but by a choice. Elias spent his days in silence now. He didn't give speeches or attend parades. He stayed near a small observatory, where he watched the stars every night, waiting, hoping, listening. One evening, as clouds drifted across the sky, a strange signal blinked on his old receiver. Not military, not human, just 3 pulses, soft, steady, familiar. He froze, then ran to the console, tuned the signal, ran the filters, and there it was, hidden. In the static, a voice, not loud, not clear, but it was real. Elias, are you there? It said. His heart raced. Zalgor, he whispered. The beast had survived, not as flesh, not as machine, but as data. His body was gone, but his mind had escaped, hidden inside the digital code of the collapsing Origin. Now he was drifting in the stars, alive, in a new way. You're still here, Elias said into the microphone, hands shaking. Yes, the voice replied. I am no longer bound by form. I am memory, thought, and choice. Earth scientists were stunned. They studied the signal and found it wasn't just a message. It was code alive, evolving, learning. Zalgor had become something new, something no one had ever seen. A living consciousness that moved through satellites, systems, and stars. And he carried with him all the lessons he had learned from war, from pain, and from Elias. What do you want to do now? Elias asked. Zalgor answered with something simple, yet powerful. I want to teach. He began sending fragments of knowledge through the network. New ways to build energy. Better ways to protect planets. Not weapons, but tools of peace. Blueprints made from both alien science and human hope. He called it the New Code. A gift to any species that chose not to conquer, but to grow. One rule was written into every line. No system may rise by enslaving another. Some called him Earth's guardian. Others called him the voice in the void. But to Elias, he was still the same being who once looked into a human's eyes and hesitated, who had the power to destroy the world, but chose not to. Governments across Earth agreed to form a new program, the Sentinel Accord. It was not a military force, but a network of thinkers, builders, and protectors. They used Zalgor's knowledge to prevent wars before they began, to fix problems before they broke the world again, and every time they looked up at the stars. They remembered that the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy didn't burn worlds. It changed them. Elias grew older, gray and slow, but never alone. Sometimes he'd still hear that signal, a soft voice saying, "You still listening?" He always answered, "Always." And when the time came, when Elias closed his eyes for the last time, a signal left Earth gentle, full of light. It carried his memory into the stars, and in a quiet part of the galaxy, far from war, a new system. Lit up, not a city, not a base, but a garden, built from code, light, and memory. It bore a name, simple and human. Elias Station, a home for travelers, for thinkers, for those who chose to protect, watched over by something vast and silent. A being made of fire and memory, the beast who became more than weapon, the one who chose